Hey, what's up, fellas? How you doing? Man, Antonelli here.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How we doing? Man, Antonelli here. So today we're answering your questions, and the question today is, what happens after a major league game? What do players do typically after the game? So let's get into the details. Now, it depends on a couple of things, but first off, when it comes to minor leagues and major leagues, it's typically pretty similar. Now, travel can be a little bit different, and obviously, depending on what city you're in, when you're in the big leagues, you're playing in typically really big cities, right? You're playing in LA and New York and DC and Miami, and so you're playing in really large cities, and typically there's a lot of things that are still happening after games, right? The game gets out at 10 o'clock. We're going to go over what you do, and then you head out, and there's still, you can still go out to eat, you can go out and hang out with people. If you're playing in Modesto or Bakersfield, California, if you guys are from those towns, I'm sure they're fine little towns, but there's not a whole lot of things going on afterwards, okay? So it does depend a little bit on the city that you're in. Every big league city that I was ever in, pretty much stuff was going on afterwards, okay? Keep that in mind. All right, so now let's get into it. So it's going to depend on a couple of things. First, when the game ends, it depends if you're traveling anywhere or if you're not traveling anywhere, okay? So typically, if you're on the road every 4 days or so, you're going to be heading off to another city. And if you're at home, depending on how long the homestand is, eventually, whether it's maybe 8 days or 12 days or whatever, eventually you're going to be traveling and going someplace else, okay? So let's talk real quick about how it works when you travel. So Major League travel is all plane flights, and it's typically always right after the game. All right, that was my experience when I was in the major leagues. Except for when we played the Los Angeles Dodgers. That we bussed to LA. It's only a couple of hours, so not bad at all. That was the only place that we did not fly. But usually, again, 99% of the time, pretty much, you're going to be flying. And so what happens is the game ends, you come in. Usually, you don't have to rush, but you can't just take your time and take forever. So usually you'll come in, you'll get showered up, you'll eat a post-game meal. So, they'll have some food for you after the game. You'll eat up quick. You'll get dressed. Typically, when you get back to your locker, all your stuff is packed up. So typically, the clubhouse attendants are going to pack up your stuff. They're going to put your jerseys and everything you need that you're going to need on the road. As far as your uniform and stuff, you are going to personally pack your suitcase, obviously, at your house or apartment or condo, whatever you're living in. You're going to pack that up and have that there as well. And then you're going to get on the bus. Usually, when I was there, a rookie or a couple rookies were in charge of making sure that they brought some adult beverages and some snacks and stuff for guys to eat and drink. You're going to get on the bus. You're going to drive to the airport. You're going to pull up pretty much like right near the... I'm not an expert when it comes to airports, but you're going to basically pull right up next to the plane. You literally get off the bus. There's a table set up with a couple of security people there with the little wand. They're going to go like this. Okay, you're good to go. You show them your ID or whatever. You get on the plane. And you sit, boom, you fly. Okay, so that's how travel works. We've talked about what the planes are like. If you want to check that out, go into our other videos. It's going to talk about what Major League planes are like and what that travel is like. Okay, so that's if you're traveling to another town, another city. Now, let's say that you're not. Okay, let's just say the game ends and you're going to be playing at the same stadium the next day, whether it's the home stadium or an away stadium. You're coming back the next day, okay? So now, all that depends typically in this case is, do you need to get a workout in or not? And so I would say most major league guys, again, depending on the guy, but usually you're going to work out at least probably 2 times a week, sometimes more. Again, depending on if you're a pitcher or position player, depending on how maybe sore you are, depending on how your body's feeling, all that stuff. But let's just say you're working out twice a week. If I was going to be working out, and what I found with most players is that they're going to work out post-game. All right, there are some players that work out before the game, but I felt like most players worked out after the game in the major leagues. So the game ends, you're going to come in. What I would do if I was going to work out is I'd come in, I'd relax for a little bit. I'd probably get maybe a shake or something small just because I haven't eaten in a while. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to work out. In San Diego, we had our weight room was basically in our clubhouse. You just walk down the hallway and the weight room's right there. So you're going to do a workout, let's just say 45, 50 minutes, maybe an hour. After that, you're going to come back. You're going to usually get showered, right? Maybe stretch out or something, but then you're gonna get showered. And then after that, you're going to decide what you want to do for food. Now, there's usually food available in the clubhouse, so maybe you're just going to grab some food in the clubhouse and eat there. Maybe you're just going to take it back to your house or your apartment or, again, condo, wherever you're living. For me, it was a hotel. Maybe you're going to take it back there. Or after the game, maybe you're going to go out, in San Diego. The stadium is right downtown. You walk out of the stadium. I didn't even need a car in San Diego. I get out of the stadium, I walk out, and I'm downtown. And my hotel that I stayed in was like right there. You could see my hotel. And there's restaurants and bars and all kinds of stuff all around. Usually the game has, by that point, if you work out, it's a little bit later. So maybe on workout days, maybe you're not going to go out to eat. Maybe you're just going to eat and lay low. That's probably what I would do. But there's always the option to be able to go out to a restaurant or wherever you feel like going and hanging out, okay? Let's go to if you're not working out. If you're not working out, usually I get out, you're going to get out of the stadium an hour before, typically. So I'd usually come out after the game. I'm going to do maybe a quick stretch, maybe depending on how I'm feeling. Maybe I have the trainer stretch me out. Maybe he's got to work on something. Maybe my arm's bothering me, whatever. You're going to take a few minutes to do that. Maybe you're going to jump into a cold tub. It's always a good way to kind of, just make your body feel better after a game. Make sure that you're feeling good the next day when you wake up. Then you're going to take a shower, and again, you're going to have the option. You want to eat in the clubhouse, or you're going to go out to eat. Let's say you're going to go out to eat, not eat in the clubhouse. Just like anybody, a lot of times people say, well, who do you go out to eat with? Do you go out to eat with the whole team? Do you go out to eat with a few buddies? Do you go out to eat by yourself? I mean, I think it's pretty typical of anyone. If you work in a job and you've got a lunch break, are you going to go out and eat with, a couple of your friends? You're going to go out to eat by yourself? You're going to go out to eat with, a group of your colleagues? Same type of thing in baseball. I would say in my experience, we didn't really, after games, I don't remember the whole team ever going out and eating together. It was always usually like smaller groups. For me personally, when I was in the major leagues, I got called up late in the season. And so a lot of the guys I wasn't like super good friends with, guys that had been up in the big leagues for a while. My group of friends were guys that had just gotten called up with me. And we had a really young team that year. So guys like, we had a lot of them actually, but guys like Whey LeBlanc, who was my roommate most of my career in the minor leagues, Will Venable, Nick Hundley, Chase Headley, who else? Sean Kazmar. There's a ton of guys. I don't want to go through and list every single guy. But there was a lot of guys that I had played with for a while in the minor leagues, and we were all up in the big leagues together, a lot of us. So those were typically going to be the guys that I was going to go out with. If I was going to go out and eat dinner, those would be the guys. And I might just go out. I would never really go to a restaurant by myself, but I might just say, hey, I'm just going to go pick up some food someplace. I'm going to go back and hang out at my hotel and eat there. So you also have to remember, you always get out pretty late. Even if you don't work out, if you get out of the game and you shower, or let's just say you stretch out, I'm always going to stretch out, probably always going to jump into a cold tub or, do something with the trainer really quickly just to make sure my body is feeling good for the next day. If I just finish a game and I just get in the shower and leave, my body's going to hurt the next day, especially after playing day after day after day after day. So you do that, you shower, and by the time you get out of there, you're looking at least 11 o'clock, usually later than 11 o'clock, right? So it's not like you have all night, although baseball is typically, because you play night games, your schedule is kind of wacky. Like usually you're not going to go to bed. I don't go to bed typically when I was playing baseball until 1, sometimes 2 o'clock. Because you can sleep in later. Unless you got a day game, you can sleep in late. And so you want to really feel, you got to be wide awake and ready to roll from 7 to 10, 10:30 at night every single night. That's when you have to be locked in. And so most guys aren't going to wake up at 6 a.m. when they've got to be ready to roll at 7 to 10 p.m. Your schedule just gets pushed to later in the night. So you go to bed late, you wake up later. You eat breakfast around, let's say, I would probably eat breakfast around 10 o'clock. I'm going to eat lunch around 2 o'clock, and I'm going to eat dinner around 11 o'clock. And obviously some snacks in between. So that's kind of how it works. I think that kind of covers everything. So the biggest question I get usually is just like, who do you hang out with? And again, it's not unlike anything else. You're playing Major League Baseball, you're working at a normal whatever, you go to school, like, who do you hang out with? You hang out with your friends. And on baseball teams, I mean, typically you're going to, in most of my experiences with teams, I like most of the guys. Every now and then there's a guy you're like, I'm not a huge fan of him, but, I don't hate the guy. I'm not a big fan of him. I'm not going to hang out with him a lot. We're not going to go out one-on-one and eat dinner together or something like that. So you don't hang out with that person. And you end up hanging out with your group of friends, your buddies. And so that's usually how it worked. And then when you come to the field, when I'm in the clubhouse, I'm friends with everybody. But I don't always hang out with everyone off the field. I don't think most players don't do that. And especially in baseball where, you've got 25 guys. So it's a semi-large group. It's not like football that's huge. But it's not like basketball where basketball's got 13 guys or so. And so I have heard of some basketball teams that do a lot of things together. It's a little bit harder in baseball because now you've got you got almost double the players, right? And so in my experience, I don't think most teams did a lot of stuff together. There might be some teams that would do a team dinner every now and then. But most nights you're just going to go out and, kind of be in a little bit smaller groups. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I didn't leave anything out. But that's typically how it's going to work in the minor leagues after a game. In the major leagues, not in the minor leagues. In the minor leagues, we didn't even talk about the minor leagues. This could be a long video. In the minor leagues, when you're playing in some town you've never heard of before with population of 72 people, the game ends and you get out of the stadium and there's no place to eat. You better hope that you get good food from the clubby, which you're probably not gonna in the low minors. So you're gonna get some crappy mac and cheese, which I hate mac and cheese, and you're like, well, I can't eat that. So now you're gonna have to go try to find some place to eat, but everything's closed, and so usually I would order Domino's late night Domino's. Maybe an IHOP's open late at night. I remember we tried to go through the drive-through. We didn't have a car, so we just walked up to the drive-thru because that was all that was open, and they refused to feed us. So then we tried to do it. We tried to use a bicycle, and they were like, "That's not a car. You need a car." And we were like, "Well, I'm sorry, we're professional baseball players. We can't afford cars, and we're in the minor leagues." And so we never got food there. That was disappointing that night. I can remember that vividly. I was starving. All I wanted was McDonald's, and they wouldn't give me any because we weren't driving in cars. We were walking up to the drive-thru. It was a walk-through. It wasn't a walk-through, apparently. It was a drive-through. Anyways, minor leagues, much different than the big leagues. Not going to struggle with that. Not going to eat at McDonald's at midnight when you're in the big leagues. I know that much. That's all we got. Thanks for the questions, guys. Keep sending them in, and girls. I'll keep answering them. Hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already. Give the video a thumbs up. Share with all your friends. All that good stuff. Thank you to our patrons who support us on Patreon. We really appreciate that. And that's all we got. We'll talk to you later.